Welcome to Las Locas Chronicles, where we dig into the lives, laughter, and legacies of two Latinas walking in faith and servitude. Each week, we unpack our journeys through ministry, sharing the triumphs, trials, and everything in between. So grab your cafecito, get comfortable, and let's get into today's episode of Las Locas Chronicles.
Welcome to Las Locas Chronicles. We are so excited to be here again today with you. All right. I am still in Amarillo, Texas. It is always exciting to be here, but soon I'll have to go home.
Wah, wah, wah.
I know, but we'll be together soon.
Together again, very soon.
And it'll be fantastic.
As per usual.
So, as you can see,
yes, coordination.
Coordination.
Let us know if you like it. You think it's cute, or like the Bobbsey twins is like too juvenile at this point of our life.
I mean, I feel like, this is what we used to do when we were younger. So
yes, we have pictures. I don't know. Do you still have the picture with the dress? Like I had the black one, or you had the blue one, and it had like a stripe here. We wore it to the Valentine's Day banquet.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, the banquet.
Okay.
So let us know if you think it's whack, if we need to stop.
I mean, I'm kind of like it.
You like it? I like it.
You know why? Because I get to wear stuff that I normally wouldn't wear. Alexa, pushes me out of the box.
One day you'll dress
on all
me.
Levels. She wants me to dress. It'll be plain.
Today's snacks consist of, what is this popcorn?
Skinny Pop.
She just told me that she's not a fan of Skinny Pop. Which,
I mean, it tastes okay.
I think it's made in olive oil, which kind of like gives me a headache, but...
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
No, I mean, I like Skinny Pop, but I mean, we have other things in there, like these, like coconut caramel cookies, lemon cookies.
They used to be called Samoas. Now they're like coconut delights.
I mean, that's the great value.
But I think they also changed the name.
Did they?
Yeah,
the Girl Scouts changed the name.
Coconut Delights. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Or something like that. Thank you, Great Value, for giving it to us at a value. And that's what she's snacking on. We have these kettle chips.
I mean, you have to just chew it
go
so
in
loud.
there. Yep. And then I put in there for her little lemon cookies. They have like lemon on one side and then the shortbread on the other.
I love anything lemon.
Yeah, she's a lemon fan. So if you have any lemon goodies that you would like for her to evaluate and to rate, send them.
Yeah. Let me know.
Send them.
I would love to taste any snacks and let you know the truth about these snacks.
She'll let you know the truth.
So I didn't know we had kettle chips in here. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just plain.
Okay. Water on deck as per usual. What do you?
But I like it. This is the pineapple coconut ice.
That's been her thing this week.
Pineapple, lemon. Okay.
Yeah. It's
very
refreshing.
It's very Caribbean vibes.
Okay. So, here we are.
Reunited, and it feels so good. All right. So, what do we want to talk about today?
I thought you were going to hit me up with something scary, as we've had,
some scary revelations.
Some scary revelations. Like, truth be told, like every time we finish doing one of these episodes, we really feel like this overwhelming sense that a load was taking off of us.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it's not something that we planned for. Once again, If you're new here,
yeah,
this is new to us. We have nothing scripted.
Nothing is scripted. Nope.
We do not talk about. So what are we going to talk about?
Right. I mean, I've tried to say, so what are we going to talk about?
Right.
And she's like, Jess, we're just going to go with it, which is the scariest thing for me because I'm an overthinker, overplanner.
And it's scary for me because I, like to have things organized. You going to sneeze?
I might.
Okay, that's okay. I sneezed in one. It's fine. Listen, it's the truth. Bless you. Bless
Ooh,
you.
bless
you and bless you. So with this, it's very different, and we're just being led to talk about different parts of our story, right?
Yeah.
And in sharing our story, we're being vulnerable enough to say, some parts of a story were great. Some parts of a story were traumatic. Some parts of our story are still being unraveled as we, as we speak. And it's so important to walk it out and to be able to talk it. And to have a space like this to be so confident and say, hey, this is where we're at, and that's great. On a side note, as Jessica's snacking and we're having this conversation, for those of you who have been following the journey, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for writing to us. Thank you for all the things. We have an email if you would like to share something that maybe has inspired you, has something that you laughed at, something that ministered to your life. Las Locas Chronicles @gmail.com.
Send us an email. We would love to read it and respond.
We will respond. Right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And if you've been following the journey, especially out here, you have heard different things go off. Okay? We've had trains.
Oh my gosh, so many trains.
We've had printers. We've had my dog bark. We've had my husband sneezing.
There was some beeping, something that was happening over here earlier.
Oh, yeah. So we've had a whole bunch of stuff go off. So listen, this is live. This is
real life.
This is real life. And that is the thing. We are not filtering anything.
No, we're not filtering
anything.
That did y'all see that little devious look that she just gave me?
Was that on camera?
Y'all, did you see that look that she just gave me?
Because I think that's where we're gonna go today.
Oh,
let's talk about living a life unfiltered.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Unfiltered life.
An unfiltered life.
Okay. So it's making me nervous already.
Why?
I mean, wow.
Oh, and stomachs going off, by the way. Like, I don't know how good this mic picks it up, but I remember a few episodes or weeks ago, my stomach was like, it was like doing a whole movement. It was like calling God, like a groan that was like being exposed at the moment. So you're going to hear it all, live and in person.
So unfiltered life. Let me think about this.
Okay.
That's okay. It just makes me nervous even just saying unfiltered life.
Well, to explain.
Because
walk with it as I eat my coconut delight.
Because when we think of unfiltered, well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind of thinking the word unfiltered is, exposure.
Oh.
Exposing.
Let me put this down.
So when I think unfiltered, I think exposure. And so unfiltered can be a positive or a negative thing, right?
I'm gonna look up.
Look it up.
I'm gonna look it up, but keep.
So as we're thinking this through, right? So when I think of the word unfiltered, I think it can be, exposure, and exposure can be negative and exposure can be positive. I think being honest, obviously, is 100%. I think being transparent is good too. I think there is such a thing as being too transparent. Sometimes.
Explain that.
I think in the right context, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think giving too much too soon is giving too much too soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to walk in wisdom with who we can be unfiltered with.
Yeah, for
in our lives.
Real. Because there are people, excuse the coconut, there are people that seem to side with you and seem to how would you say, seem to support you and love you, but they're waiting for any moment to expose the nasty things that you show them, and to their benefit.
Yes, they're using your
using
transparency as ammunition against you,
right? And they don't care about the effect that it's going to have on you later, right? So I agree that you have to be so careful
and walk in wisdom.
Correct.
And the Holy Spirit will let you know, but I think a lot of times there are lots of red flags, and then we do this to ourselves. No, that's not because of that. No, maybe I'm just being paranoid.
Right.
Or, maybe I'm just, being, not trusting. And the Holy Spirit's like, no, I'm telling you, it's a red flag. You're ignoring the red flag.
Why don't we listen to that beautiful, sweet, gentle voice of the Holy Ghost?
I have no idea. Why we convince ourselves not to. We convince ourselves out of the will of the Father, because when we listen to the Holy Spirit,
I think they like it when we come in slow, like when we make them laugh first. You're just trying to
I mean, I don't mean that's just me. Like that, I'm just an intense person.
I'm saying, and we just, can we just be gentle at first?
I mean, I'm trying to. I'm just saying, okay, let's be gentle.
So Unfiltered, right? Two things just happened as I'm looking this up. Unfiltered, one of the definitions, and this is the Merriam-Webster. Not filtered, boring,
boring,
right.
Obvious.
And then it says also not modified, processed, or refined. Not modified, processed, or refined. Okay. But then let me. So I was looking up unfiltered, right? Let me go to the synonyms here for a second, because let me tell you something interesting happened as I was doing this little thing right here.
As I eat this lemon cookie. My God.
Let me do this real quick, okay? So it says the synonyms of unfiltered. Being in its original state without having anything removed. Because this wine is unfiltered, a small amount of sediment may be collected at the bottom of the bottle over time. Raw, crude, natural, undeveloped, okay? Unpurified, unpolished, untouched, whole, unwrought, primitive, unstained. But as I was typing, looking up the definition to unfiltered, you know how Google gives you all those different subtopics or whatever? It came up and said unfiltered life.
Ooh.
And so, listen to this. It says, to live an unfiltered life means to live with acceptance of your limitations and flaws, as well as a sense of optimism and hope for the future.
Oh.
Then we go down.
Oh, that's good.
I'm trying to tell you something here. Then it came up unfiltered life. I just meant to put unfiltered. Living unfiltered life on this end says living life unfiltered is about embracing and sharing the raw, real, and transparent stories God has created for us.
What? Wow.
And I'm going to stop it with this other one down here. It says, what does my unfiltered life mean? Living life unfiltered begins with addressing our perception of ourselves and being completely vulnerable with who we are. To be real with the world, we must first be wholly honest with who we are. Then maybe the power of self-awareness extends beyond how we see ourselves to how we perceive others. But I like this one. Embracing and sharing the raw and real and transparent stories that God has created for us. So living an unfiltered life is embracing and sharing.
Embracing who we are, which, first of all, let's talk about this real quick. If we just broke that down to embracing who we are, how many of us are truly okay and love who we are right now?
Oh, see, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, let's get to the first part of the issue, that before we can be transparent, before we can be wholly who we are, we need to know who we are. We need to know our identity and what our identity is in, or who our identity is in.
For sure.
So I think a lot of us, don't even know who we are. We don't know what we like. We don't know, who we are in Christ. We don't know, for instance, I've had so many seasons in my life, and as I've gotten older, there's a blessing to getting older.
Yes.
The blessing to getting older is the older you get, the more you don't care about impressing anybody. You know what you like, right? Hopefully, you know what you like. You know the food you like. You know the clothes you like. You know the colors you like. You kind of just are doing you, right? When you're younger,
right? Yeah.
I feel like you spend a lot of time like emulating. Like you're like, oh, I need to dress a certain way, and because everybody else is doing that, and I need to talk a certain way because everybody else is doing that. And I feel like I spent a lot of my 20s really trying to find myself by imitating, good or bad, what was happening around me. Right. And then there were times during those 20s, because I had my kids so young. Like I had my son when I had just turned 21, and I had my daughter when I just turned 23. Y'all, who knows themselves when they're 22 years old, like, or 23. And so a lot of those years, I didn't know who I was because I was Joshua and Bianca's mom.
Ooh.
I never even, I didn't know who I was even before I married my husband. I became Richie's wife, and then I became Joshua and Bianca's mom. So my whole identity was wrapped up into who I was because of the responsibilities that I had, not necessarily because I knew who I was, who God had called me to be.
That's we have to take this in steps, because I have the opportunity to know some amazing people. And something that you said, and we have to take it, pace by pace, right? When we have to first know our identity, that is also going to pave the way, absolutely, to living an unfiltered life. Yes. Because when you embrace who you are and you know who you are, then you're not putting on the filters. You're not putting on, the things that make certain things appear to be what they're not. That's what a filter does. Yeah, that's what a filter does. And I remember I have Snapchat. I have Snapchat, and I remember when it first came out, it was a hit. Yeah, because you flip the camera around and it had all these filters on it, and you could be like a little puppy, and when you open your mouth, the tongue will come out, and I'm like, yo, how they do that? And then now then they had the filter where you become like a little baby, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then the filter when you became an old woman. Did you ever see yourself as that? And I was like,
I did the one that made me into a man, and I looked exactly like my brother.
Okay, so again, I'm a visual person. So when we're talking about filters, right? Unfiltered means remove the filter. Remove what helps you become something that is not reality. Right? Yeah. Because when I did the Snapchat, it was like, oh my gosh. And then my sister and we did a before the filter and we did an after the filter. And let me tell you, Jess, I love the filtered part of me that had no arrugas.
There's the acne marks.
That it filled my lip just so. My eyes were brighter. Like, I was like, oh, girl, I look good. And then if you, and some of you, if you know, if you all of a sudden, like, you're like, wow, I look good, and all of a sudden that filter goes to camera, you're like, oh shoot, that's not me. Like, you get scared.
You scared your own self.
So knowing who you are
is the foundation.
And yes, our essence and our totality of who we are comes from the Creator, right? But when you said, I lost my identity as Joshua and Bianca's mom, as Richie's wife, that is not our whole identity. We had a whole identity before we met our spouse.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. But how many of us do that, right? We don't fully have that solid foundation of who we are as women of Christ, women of God. And then we move into a different role, a different capacity, a different environment, and then we become like chameleons.
Oh,
and we change.
Not chameleons.
To blend into that new to that new role. So then I found myself as a fresh mom who didn't a child really, because 21 and 23, I mean,
it's young.
And I don't know what it is, to be a mom that young. And so you just start imitating what other people are doing, and what other moms love to, cook and clean, and except this mom. And so, right, but then you feel guilty when you don't do the things that you see all the other moms doing, or you're not performing in a way that, all the other wives are performing, or your house doesn't look the way that all the other moms' houses are looking. And then because you don't know yourself, like what would happen to me during that season of my life is I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to, who am I? What do moms do? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what am I supposed to be like? And then people my age, like Alexa and your sister Carmen and our other friends, they were my age, but I was the only one in that season. So I was looking at their lives like, oh man, they're going on vacations and they're having fun, and they're doing all these amazing things, and I can't go anywhere, and I got to take care of my kids, and we just don't have money for that, and of course they're living, you guys all look a certain way, and you got your beautiful makeup and your hair and the clothes and all the things, and I'm walking around with throw up on my t-shirt all day and cleaning up diapers and going to doctor's appointments and trying to and so there's that pull that can easily turn into, I would say it will easily turn into envy or jealousy, or you know what I mean, where you are like, oh, why did I, allow myself to be in this season so soon, and everybody's having fun without me, and everybody's living their best lives, and, it's very difficult.
Right. So, I mean, kind of steering away from living an unfiltered life, right? Yeah. Which the foundation has to be, you have to, in order to not have a filter on, you have to be secure.
Yes.
In who you are.
Right. Because at that point, I'm just living a facade. Right. I'm like,
that's the filter. That's the filter.
That's
right.
I'm going to portray myself as the best perfect mom, the best perfect homemaker.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And correct. And that's exhausting. But,
it's exhausting.
But moving away a little bit from the unfiltered life, right, is that comparison. Let's talk about comparison and how can it can eat you alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that comparison affects you being filtered. Because you're looking at somebody and you're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, let me do that. And you could spend your whole life doing this. And it's exhausting.
There are people that have not lived yet because they are constantly looking at someone else and saying, I don't have that, I don't do that, I gotta be like that, and they're constantly trying to shift their life in a way that looks like this.
Right.
When the truth is, you don't know anyone until you live with them.
Oh my gosh.
The truth. You do not, unless you are in that house,
in their life,
in their life, you're trying to emulate and be something that you have no idea how broken it really is unless you live in that space.
That is 100% true. You know what I found out when I was in that season where, I was with my kids and I was tired of being home because here I am, 23 years old, 2 kids, trying to, take care of my home, take care of my family, take care of my husband. So I started doing like these mommy and me things, like mommy and me, like playtime and whatever. And I met some other girls that were my age. And what I realized is that when we allow ourselves to be unfiltered, I realized that these girls did not have it all together, that they were just pretending. What? And they were frustrated just like I was. And and when we could take off the mask and realize that, man, this job is hard. I have no idea what I'm doing as a parent. My house is not clean all the time. My cooking sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I hate washing clothes and I leave them on the...
Have you ever cooked for me?
I made you eggs last month.
It was delicious. Thank you.
But I don't make meals. Like, Alexa's the meal maker. Like,
listen, but this is so good.
But it took that, it took that courage for somebody to say, you know what? I'm not a perfect mom.
Yeah.
I get frustrated with my kids. You know what I mean?
Okay. That part. I've seen so many women, and there's one that's super close to me, who strive to be this super mom. Right?
Yeah.
Because they feel like they don't want to let their kids down. And it goes further. Okay? It's not only that I don't want to let my kids down, but I want that recognition of being a super mom.
Yeah.
That is exhausting.
Because they want something to have to identify themselves by.
But that is exhausting, and God never called you to be this heroine or this perfect, like, no one's ever going to come back to you and be like, you did everything 100% right, and that's why I call you mom.
Right. Let me tell you something. That's so good, because this is what I say. I feel like I did the best that I could, right? Obviously, you have your own parents. You strive to do better by learning and growing. I read books and I, tried my best. But at some point,
what you could.
At some point when my kids were teenagers, what I realized was this. They're going to blame me for ruining their life, and it's probably going to be 1,001 ways. So every time my kids would say something to me, whatever, I say, okay, 1,001 ways of how I ruined your life. Like, that's our joke now. I'm saying, let me guess. Even my daughter, she's like, Mom, she's 22. Mom, I literally think that I have ADHD and you never got me tested. I said 1,001 ways of how I ruined your life. Girl, get over it. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You know what I mean?
Because listen, you can put yourself in the coffin sooner than you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
By carrying this facade of what you think is necessary for you to be in this role.
Right. And honestly, a lot of it is, okay, there are expectations, right? Like, my family had expectations of, my mom is very old fashioned, and she had these expectations that I should be a stay-at-home mom. And guess what? I made myself miserable. Because guess what? Not everybody's meant to stay at home with their children.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there was this expectation that if you're a mom, you stay at home with your kids. And my mom was like, you better have dinner on the table every single... Guess what? I don't even like to cook like that. You know what I mean? I was doing all the things because there were expectations set for me, and because I thought that this is what it was.
So here's what I'm hearing. Like, there are filters that we put on ourselves to make everybody believe the facade.
Yes,
to make
that we're
everybody
doing it
believe,
right.
Yes, that we are perfect. To make everyone applaud and be like, "Man, you're amazing." Goals, #goals, right?
Oh, I hate when people say that.
But then there are filters that other people place on us.
Yes. I will say this. and you know, my husband, Richie, he's the best. He's super sweet and he's super attentive. You know, our husbands are very much the same. You know, they're always like, hon, are you thirsty? Are you hungry? You know, are you good? Are you cold? Are you hot? Like, my husband's super attentive. And so people would say things, oh my God, hashtag relationship goals. Y'all are so cute. Y'all are so cute. You know what I tell people? Because I've done lots of premarital counseling with couples. We've done lots of counseling with, like, regular counseling with couples. I tell people all the time, I never want to give you the impression.
Oh, that's good.
That my relationship is perfect. This is 25 years of work. Okay, and forgiveness, and communication, and reading books, and back in the day, listening to Jimmy Evans' Marriage on the Rock CDs, literally with a radio, a CD player, and me and my husband like this, crying.
You know what?
That we couldn't even talk after listening to the CD. We would just go separate ways. Like, God, what are we doing?
We live in the actual birthplace, right, of Jimmy Evans. So,
yeah,
you know, and we didn't know that ministry. You knew the ministry before we did.
Jimmy Evans is no joke.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, he's a teacher, a pastor and a teacher, and his specialty is marriage.
Wow.
Many
Marriage
books.
on the Rock. It has the newest edition has been released.
Oh,
pick
tremendous.
It up. Pick it up. Amazon, pick it up. Barnes and Nobles, pick it up.
Even if you think your marriage is perfect, then you definitely need this book.
So
because it's not.
Listen, Jess, I know one day the time is not now, because I've been praying about it and I haven't shared it with you. One day we're going to share a testimony about our marriage, which we both share. You know, the time is not now.
Right.
But I love when you said, you know, because here we are, and speaking of our own personal lives, people will say, man, they got the perfect life. You got the perfect kids. Your kids, you know, your kid is in the military. Your kid's in college. You know, you have a beautiful dog. You have a beautiful house. You know, you have a dream job. And my husband and I, and, you know, Buzz has made an appearance here. You know, and all the things.
You're living your best life.
But don't believe everything you see. Don't believe. And I have tried so hard not to be a poster. Like,
I shut that down so fast. I shut it down.
Like, I don't share my life for that reason. I am very careful, and I feel this in 2024. I feel moved and given the green light by the Lord to start posting the different assignments and places and things, and I have to do that. But for so many years, I haven't, because I never wanted to depict something that was untrue.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I never wanted to lie. Right. For the reason that people are going to get the wrong idea.
Right. And that's why I tell people, like, they're like, oh, you guys are so perfect together. You guys are perfect. You know, at hashtag goals and everything. I tell people this all. The reason why I say that to people, like, I never want to give you the impression that our relationship is perfect, because I don't want you to have an unrealistic expectation set on your life.
The worst thing, like,
you know what I mean?
Have you ever put yourself in Richie's shoes?
I mean, I'm scared too, because I'm a lot.
Serious. Like,
yeah.
I put myself in other people's place a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I have compassion. That's why I have patience with people. But I feel like my heart sinks when I put myself here, and here I am thinking all these things, all these great things. And if you only knew the truth, if you only knew the pain, the hurt, the tears, the suffering, you know, you want something and you don't know what you're signing up for in wanting that.
Oh my gosh, yes. People always want to be in a season, a different season than what they're in. You know, that they're single, they want to be married. They're married, they want to be single.
Right.
You know, when really we need to be content where we are in the life that God has given us at that moment.
And that is the living, for me, that's a perfect depiction of what living unfiltered is being present in where being present, living present, not having a spirit of competition or a spirit
Oh,
of
girl, yes. Let's talk about that.
Like, but honestly,
yeah,
like, we're constantly coveting this. I want that. I want this. We're constantly in competition. We're constantly, what's the other C word that we just said? It'll come to us. But we're
competition.
No, competition. We said comparison. In comparison with someone else. Competition and comparison, two different things, but they will both kill the presentness of your life and the joys that you can find in the moments right now. I've had you as a friend for 30 years. Let me tell you, there have been times where I've compared myself to Jess.
Yeah, and I've done the same with you.
In her studies, how many times I'm like, damn, I'm so proud of her. But man, I wish I could do something like that too. For real.
Yeah, and I felt the same thing about I've said this to God. I'm like, man, look at Alexa. Like, she's been a pastor forever, and look at me, how long it's taken. And, she's gotten to speak in all these different amazing places. And God, I'm still waiting for you, right, to open the doors for me. So, yeah, we can get caught up in
the comparison. And another comparison, like, let's go from all angles.
Let's do it.
Another comparison, you and I have fought with the same battle in our weight.
Oh my God, I was thinking that.
We have fought in the same battle with our weight. Like, we are Oprah Winfrey.
Literally.
Yo, and if my girl Oprah can look that slammy right now at I don't know how old she is, 60 or whatever. Yo, you do that thing, girl. And she did it naturally through whatever. Anyway, not gonna. But my thing is, you kill the game when you get into your discipline.
Literally.
You kill
when
the
I'm
game.
Not eating lemon cookies.
You kill the game. Like, you lost the 30 pounds. You lost 40 pounds. Mm-hmm. And I've seen you at your largest.
Yeah.
Unhealthiest. And I've seen you when you went on a cruise and you wore that brown spaghetti strap dress.
Yes.
And you looked incredible. And I was like, dang, like, now sometimes that comparison could be good and lead you to, you know what, I could do it too. If she did it, I could do it too. And sometimes that comparison,
it leads you down a whole another way that God never intended us to go.
Never intended. And just, I don't know, sometime this week I told you, man, we're the same way, and I just feel so huge. You
literally said that. You said, I just feel like I look so huge compared to you. I said, girl, our bodies are completely different. I said, our weight is allocated differently. We're just different people.
But
you know what I mean?
Listen now, we're using this to preach. You could be the same weight.
Come on.
And it's distributed different.
I literally said that to her.
You're carrying the same weight as someone else, but it looks different.
Oh, girl, you preaching now.
I'm telling you. And
that's exactly what we said.
And that is, that is a problem that we're living. You need to remove the filter.
Yeah.
And allow yourself to live in what God is doing in you. You are too busy looking at everyone else, and you have failed to see that God is looking at you.
Oh my gosh.
You are too busy focused in all directions. This is a killer for most women right here. Every app, you're spending hours looking at all these filtered lives and thinking that is
really, we say filter, but really the word that we use now is called curated.
Oh,
it's curated. We're picking and choosing and creating an image.
Creators, correct.
We're curating.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not. We're only presenting our best selves or an image or an idea.
For sure.
Of perfection or whatever it is that we're trying to portray to people.
Right. And we miss out on the best years of our children's lives, the best years of our marriage.
Yes.
The best years of our mental health. Mental health is a real thing for me.
Oh my gosh. You know what I was thinking about when you said about the weight? Well, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
When you said, because before you mentioned the weight, I was thinking it in my mind about the weight, and I was thinking that yes, this is this, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how much time I spent as a teenager and in my 20s specifically, hyper focused on my weight, on the way that I was supposed to look, not being happy with my body, despising my curly hair, despising my big hips.
Yeah.
The things that I love about myself right now, when I started wearing my hair natural in 2016, I flat ironed my hair years since I was a teenager because I was
flat ironed it for you.
I was embarrassed of my curly hair.
I took those 3 hours to flat iron it.
She sure did. Mm-hmm. And so I spent years of my life doing this because I thought that was the symbol of beauty.
Wow.
Until 2016, I had just graduated with my PhD, and I got a job working from home. And I said to myself, why am I spending an hour and a half, 2 hours flat ironing my hair every single week when no one is going to see me? Who am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? And then I said to myself, you know what? I said, I have a freaking PhD. Like, I'm Dr. Fernandez. You're not hiring me because I have an afro. You're hiring me for my brain. You're hiring me because I'm an expert in something and because I can contribute to your vision and to your organization. And so I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to test this little hypothesis I got going on here. Mm-hmm. And the hypothesis is I'm going to be who I am because at this point in the game, I'm a value to you. Oh. You know what I'm saying? I'm a value to you and your organization.
Oh, so you're saying you were free enough to remove the filter that you thought somebody else needed to accept you.
Right. Because I heard comments in my career. They would say things like, and I mentioned this to you the other day, and you said you should have said that.
Oh God!
And so let me tell you some of these comments.
I just did an Ephraim. Oh God!
Yeah, you did sound just like him.
Didn't I? Yeah, you because did. Because I know what's about to come. When you know what's about to come out,
because
honey,
when I was a professional, right, working at the universities, and I had I was a classroom teacher. I was I designed online courses, did all these different things, but in every environment, I never fit into the mold of where God had placed me. And I was down on myself because I was like, God, why am I not fitting in? And I spent all this time and energy trying to fit in. Y'all listen to because I'm going somewhere with this, okay?
Oh, God.
When I was a high school teacher, the first day I got the job, I walked on the campus. Literally, I kid you not, there was no less than 15 people that said to me, hi, what's your name? I said, my name is Miss Fernandez. Are you the new Spanish teacher? Actually, I teach business, but okay. After the fourth time, are you the new Spanish teacher? I said, not every Hispanic teaches Spanish. After that, anytime...
Wait, can you say that?
Come on.
One more time.
I spent so much time trying to fit in. Then they would make comments about my hair. They'd say, your hair looks so much better when it's straight. Your hair looks more professional when it's straight.
They said that to you?
They would tell me straight up that my hair looked more professional when it was straight. Oh, what are you? Are you black? Are you mixed? Are you Mexican? Are you why do y'all spend so much time wondering about my hair? Where are you? What's your accent? That doesn't, making comments about my accent or
You had an accent?
So then I kept redirecting, trying to fit in because I was because I felt this expectation set on me in order for me to be a professional, in order for people to look at me and view me as smart, I needed to talk a certain way, I needed to dress a certain way, I needed to present myself a certain way. Then I moved on to the next part of my career where God moved me forward. And I worked at this college and I was designing online courses. And I love doing what I do. But again, I sometimes when I didn't have time to blow dry my hair, I would wear it curly. And there were the comments again. Your hair looks so much professional when it's straight. I love your hair straight. I don't really like it like that too much. You know, whatever.
I didn't know we were giving surveys.
So then one day, hear me now. One day.
I like this, Jessica.
One day, I wanted to do a voiceover. So you create a presentation, and then you go into a studio, you grab the mic, and you create this voiceover. Well, every time I said online, because I do have an accent from New York, I kept saying online. Well, I was banned.
Very, very Boricua.
It's very Boricua.
Very New Yorican.
And I was banned from doing voiceovers because they said I sounded too ethnic. So, I spent so much time and effort trying to fit in that now I come to a point in my life, I graduate, I have a PhD, I'm a Puerto Rican from the Bronx with a PhD, first in my family. And I said to myself, I just need to be who I am because I've spent a lot of time and effort trying to fit in. And God said, I heard God so clearly say to me, Jessica, I never created you to fit in. I created you to be different so that you could be a light in the world. And while you were trying to fit in with other people, I placed favor on your life so that people could look at you and want to be like you.
My God. So that you could,
God said,
that you can have a girl from the Bronx, a little girl with curly hair say, one day, I want to get a PhD.
God said, I never called you to fit in. Stop trying to fit in. Stop trying to fit in.
Right.
God said, I never wanted you to be in comfortable places.
Oh.
Because we don't grow in comfortable places. We grow in uncomfortable places.
That part.
If you're comfortable, then you're not growing. See, that's the favor of God on my life right there. That God has always brought me to the place where I've been the only one. Whether I've been the only woman, whether I've been the only Hispanic, whether I've been the only one with a PhD. God has called me in rooms where I've been the only minority.
Yeah.
And they've called me in rooms and have said to me, I want you to evaluate all these people in these rooms that manage $1 million contracts. And I want you to give your opinion, your expertise on how they can be better.
So
come on. We spend too much time with the filters when what God wants us to do is be unfiltered, because in the unfiltered, most raw portion, we are reflecting God's character when we are in connection with God.
Wow. The only filter I want in my life is what Moses had when he was on the mountain.
Ooh, the glory of God.
That's it.
Shining on his face.
That's correct. Where the Israelites said, cover it up
because we can't handle it.
We can't handle it.
So we want you to be like everybody else. Come on, you better take out that flat iron.
Listen,
right?
Now,
that's what they were telling me.
No. But listen to what was.
Listen, Linda.
What was just. Listen to what was just said right now. You understand? The people wanted him to put on the mask because we can't handle it. Let me tell you what I learned and what your story just said. I can't help what you can't handle.
Oh. Y'all, come on, say that again, girl.
I can't help what you can't handle.
Listen.
I have spent 40 days with the Father. I have spent too much time in God's presence for me to reflect what you want me to reflect. I'm only going to reflect who I spend time with. And if I spend time with God, I'm going to look like God. I can't help that you, instead of wanting to worship this, wanted to worship a calf, and you're going to look like a calf.
Oh!
I need to reflect my Father. So if it bothers you that my Father is going to use all of this in its distinctness, in its uniqueness, if it bothers you that I'm brown, if it bothers you that I'm female, if it bothers you that I have an accent, if it bothers you that I use my hands too much, if it bothers you that
I'm
you know
delicious, hey,
I don't think you're ready for this jelly. If it bothers you that even in the midst of this, I can joke about this and still be anointing. If it bothers you, then you know what? That's a you problem, not a me problem.
Come on.
Because I've been called to do what God has called me to do, like me, not like you feel it needs to happen. That's what I heard you say.
That's exactly what I said.
Because here you are in one room 1 minute where they told you, you know what, you're canceled because you have too much of an accent and we're trying to reach a certain demographic that doesn't like your voice. And you know what? And God in his glory, his mercy, his sovereignty said, that's okay, Jessica. I needed you to go through that backlash. I needed you to go through that pushback because one day I'm going to send you to a church that's going to want you to speak. And now you're an online pastor reaching all these people and you are going to be useful for the kingdom just as you are.
Just as I am in a church as a different demographic than I am. Come on, somebody. Listen, I don't know about you, okay? But when I started walking in who I was, you see this here? I'm not going to stop doing this here, okay? My big curly hair and everything else.
You had to tame it today.
I had to tame it today because, you know, it was looking a little cray. But you know what? This here, that's why I started wearing my hair because it was a silent rebellion. It was, if you don't like it, you don't have to look at it. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to look in my direction. You don't have to be friends, okay? Because at the end of the day, you didn't hire me for my hair, baby. You hired me for my brain. You hired me for my anointing. You hired me for my favor. Come on. So anyway, now I walk around like, and guess what, Alexa, am I lying about this? Everywhere we go. Oh my gosh, I love your hair. Girl, is that your real hair?
Correct.
Girl, I love this hair.
That's right.
Can I touch my hair and see what happens to you? But, you know.
She won't even let me touch it. My husband had asked permission.
But I know he likes curly hair,
yes,
so I'm like,
so
okay,
he's
go ahead.
Always, yes.
Go ahead, you can, you know, don't, my daughter, you know, she has straight hair, my daughter. So she likes to bother me and run her fingers through it.
Yeah. But there's something, you know, I didn't know.
Be free, y'all.
I didn't know where this was going, to be honest with you. I had no idea. You know, we read it. I felt like it was necessary to kind of read it. But living an unfiltered life has everything to do with taking off the filters that others have placed upon you. Living an unfiltered life is taking off the filters of comparison and competition that you have placed upon yourself.
Right.
Living an unfiltered life. Listen, I think let me finish one statement, go to the other because my brain is all over. I don't think that I could live any other way. And you're right. You said that as you get older, there's a freedom. You know, if you know your grandparents or you know older people, they don't care anymore. They're going to say it just as it is. And you'll be like, don't say that. Mom,
they're going to wear whatever.
I have to tell my dad, like
your dad is
my dad
though.
Is unfiltered. I'll be like, Daddy, you know, and he'll be like, what? Like, I'm like, you can't say that. Like, you can't say that here, you know. But as they get old, they don't care. They don't care. Like, what you gonna do to me? You know, I already lived my life, you know. And this was one of the things that came to my mind. One of the greatest compliments that I receive after coming off the pulpit is when a person comes up and says, I want you to know that this is the first time I've ever heard someone be so real.
Yes.
Thank you for being so real.
Yes.
I resonated with that. It ministered to my life.
Yes, I love that.
And I saw myself being used by God because I feel like I relate to you. And I thought that God can only use a certain kind of person. That is the greatest compliment.
That is the greatest compliment.
Because I know, Jess, you got to know yourself. That's what you said. You laid the foundation, except you. Except you. And I know that I am not you're most eloquent. I know that I could get a little hood real quick. I know that my jokes may be a little bit too much for some people, not for all. My passion or my the way that I express myself may be a lot for certain people. Not everyone is gonna watch this podcast because it's not their cup of tea. But
and that's okay.
But that's why there's tea, there's coffee, there's iced tea, there's Arnold Palmer's, there's a whole variety. That's okay. But what I have come to knowledge in is that God sends you and uses you to a certain group of people, because that's why He has a whole bunch of disciples. Out of the 12, they were all very different. Even the brothers were very different.
That's it.
It wasn't Andrew, it was Peter.
God is going to use you exactly the way you are. Do you know how many... my husband is hilarious. Well, my husband's 9 years older than me. And he, which is awesome sometimes. Sometimes he's kind of like a little viejito sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it cracks me up. So now he's into like wearing, veterans hats. Because he was in the Navy.
Yes.
And so you know the older guys that wear the black veterans hats and they're like USS, whatever.
Yes.
So my husband wears a veterans hat. And to me, it's funny. It's like, oh my God, look at him. He's like a little viejito, whatever. I will tell you this. You know how many times people from all different types of people, ages, colors, cultures, have come up to my husband and said, "Sir, thank you for your service." Have asked him questions about the military, what branch they were in, start sharing war stories.
Wow.
And this is the branch I was in. Or my God, you know how many times, and I tell my husband, every time you wear this hat, I said, God uses it to minister to people, to build connections with people, to build relationships with people that we normally would not have if he did not wear that hat. Do you know how many times people have come to me that normally would not have spoken to me and have said something about my hair? Different cultures, ages, young people, old people, all types of people have come to me and made comments about this. God will use anything about you. He created you to be different.
Say that again. God will use anything about you.
God will use anything about you to minister the good news of who He is.
And so that we are trying to change it.
We're trying to filter it.
Here we are trying to change
There I was with the flat iron. Nobody gave me compliments about that boring hair. Okay?
Here we are trying to manipulate it.
Yes. Nobody was giving me compliments about that. But when I started being my natural, unfiltered self, even in my appearance, people were coming out the woodworks.
Yeah.
Girl, tell me about the hair. Tell me about the hair. And if you know me, I'm a storyteller, number one. In my stories, Jesus is always the hero. It doesn't matter if I couldn't find a parking spot. Jesus made a way and I got a parking spot in the front. It doesn't matter what story I'm telling. Jesus is always the hero in my story. But it's an opportunity.
Right.
Right. It's what God uses.
Right.
To build that connection.
It's the bait.
It's the bait, right? And here we are undoing what God created us to be because it's not good enough for us.
So I think about, as husband and wife, and I am very real, and when I speak, I'm very raw. I think about your story with Richie, and what if you were so adamant and telling Richie, stop wearing that hat.
Yeah.
Because as wives,
yeah,
we feel like we have the control.
Yeah.
And stop wearing that hat.
Yeah.
And then he's not able to do what he does.
Express himself the way that he wants to. And yes, it is tempting, right? Because we're like, we want our husbands to look a certain way. But I think about it and I think to myself, my husband's never tried to change me. Like, he's never tried to, he's never said, babe, you need to stop wearing your hair like that. Or you need, he's never done that. I just need to let him be him because he's happier that way.
Right. But what I'm saying is you would have taken away his opportunity to connect with people.
To do what he does best.
Right. Right.
Because he loves talking to people.
He genuinely does.
He genuinely is a caring person.
People. He connects with people. Something that I have a very hard time doing.
Listen, when Richie worked at the post office, he was the postmaster. When I tell you, we had so many trays of cookies in our house because would come with trays of cookies, cakes, banana breads, fruit cakes, all the things. Richie would come home with all these gifts because he genuinely just loves people.
Wasn't just doing a job. He was connecting, and let me tell you,
that was part of his ministry.
For some of you that are like, well, I don't preach and I don't do this, but you're connecting, and you can you can smile at someone like nobody else can. That is Christ. Christ had relationship everywhere he went. He had relationship. One of the beautiful stories in the Bible, I believe it's in Luke. I may be wrong, but it's the story of the widow of Nain. Here she is. She's a widow, and she is about to bury her son. Okay, and the processional's going, and Jesus looks over with compassion, and he's on his way, and death meets life. Jesus stops, sees this widow, and touches that dead body and resurrects it. Jesus was always a man of relationship. He had business to do over here, but he couldn't stop seeing the need over here. And that connection was immediate. And he said, I'm not going to let her continue her suffering. I'm not going to continue, as I need to go on the other side. I know I got business to do, but I see, that's Richie. I see a need. What you need? You all right? You need. And so immediately he acts on something, and he touches her need, and then he keeps going about his business. There's some of us that instant connection, that you all right? I got you. There are some first responders that don't have an ambulance, that don't have a medical degree. There's some responders that aren't working for the fire department or the police department. There's some first responders that is just an innate caring ability that's inside of us, given by the Father.
Yeah. And that only comes out when we are unfiltered. Right. You know why? Because we're spending so much energy on things that don't matter, that never contribute to the kingdom. Comparison, jealousy, competition, making us do things that we normally would do for reasons that don't matter ever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I gotta buy this bag because everybody has this bag.
Right.
And then, listen, I'd rather take that $1,500 and take me and my family away somewhere, have a great time, make a memory. You need $1,500 just to get into Disney at this moment.
For real.
I don't know. There's so much to do. I think that people took better pictures back in the day.
Okay, why?
Because back in the day, you had to be intentional. Remember the disposable cameras?
I had the first selfie with a disposable camera. My husband. We were like this.
Yeah. So, but what I mean is, you had to be intentional about the pictures you took. You couldn't see them.
You couldn't waste them.
And then you had to work at taking it to the Walgreens or to wherever to develop them. And you were excited about
and scared all at the same time. You're like, I hope it came out. I hope it came out.
But when you would see, and then you would put them, in a frame or in an album. And you would just, and I don't know, there's just something so beautiful about those old pictures.
And they're candid. You don't know what you were going to catch.
Right. And now,
no filter, no nothing.
it has to look this way, or erase it.
Take the background out. Put this background in. Lighten it up.
We take 500 pictures and we only use one and post it because that's the perfect one. When back in the day, man, we cherished every...
And you laughed. Girl, you don't know what was going to come out in them pictures. We would laugh and I would be like...
I'm going to see if I can find some pictures. I'm going to see if I know where they are.
Yeah.
But I just feel we need to go back to that. Go back to a disposable camera life.
Oh, that's good. Be candid.
Be candid.
Unfiltered.
And all you did was just keep turning the knob to the next one because you knew you had a limited amount of pictures to take.
And you will see what God does.
Yeah.
You will see what God does.
And the truth is, you have a limited amount of pictures.
Ooh.
You do. You can. There's some of us that are missing the picture.
Yeah.
We're missing it. And you're missing out on the best memories of your life. You're missing out on who you really are. And yes, God wants to use you just as is. Some of you are waiting to lose weight to do the thing that God has called you to do.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking that. This
happens.
I promise you, I was thinking that. I was just thinking, how many of us don't go places, don't go to the beach, wear the bathing suit. Some of us don't want to go to the party because we don't have a dress that fits. Some of us don't. And you know what? Don't apply for the job because we don't have a suit that fits.
I want to go back to the beach. There are marriages that haven't lived the best parts of their marriage because the wife or the husband are like, no, I don't want to go. You look at me, this and this and that. And they don't spend fun time together because one of them is so caught up on what they don't look like. Right?
Yeah, I don't want to go on the cruise.
Right.
I don't want to.
Right. And then who is
I don't want to take the pictures.
Who is suffering? The relationship suffers. The spouse suffers. They're bored. And then they're so upset because they're so bored because they don't do anything. And it's because you are stopping yourself because in your mind, you can't have fun unless you're 50 pounds less. Let me tell you something. I'm going to be 47 years old. I have cellulite all over here. And I don't like my arms. But when me and my boo go out,
come on,
we go on vacation, I'ma bring that bathing suit.
Hello.
I'ma bring that bathing suit. I'ma bring that beautiful dress that's for him, and I'm gonna feel comfortable, and I'm gonna love it, and we're gonna have a great time. Why? Because this is mine and his moment. This wasn't for you. This wasn't meant for you. You don't have to like what you see. You understand? This is how you need to stop fixating on how they're doing it and start doing what God's given you the ability to do it and start enjoying it.
Ooh. That's it. They got to live this unfiltered life. And I will say this, when I started really like in 2016 being unfiltered with the way I look and just being natural and the way that I speak and accepting and embracing, my accent and not allowing people to make me feel guilty about it, or make me feel bad about it. When I started embracing that is when God started truly opening up doors in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that like as soon as I started being who God called me to be, and I'll just kind of, because I don't want to keep going, but I'll just kind of end with this one per se. The last church I came to before I came to Texas, I had to do announcements for a whole year before my pastor put me to preach for the first time at this church. And I was fixated on being perfect. Mm. Like if I started stuttering, I would beat myself up. I would get upset. I would just, be upset. And so my husband, and then people like, I beat myself up and I come down, people are like, oh my God, you're so funny and whatever, because anybody that knows me knows like anytime I make a mistake, I'm just funny. Like I just keep going. And they're like, oh my God, you're so funny. We just love you so much. And then one day, like I started stuttering and I made a funny joke, but that wasn't part of the announcement and whatever. And then I beat myself up over this. And my husband said, babe, he goes, that's what That's why people like you. Because you're not perfect. Because you're funny. Because you represent every regular person out there who wants to do something brave and feels like they have to be perfect, and you give them permission not to be perfect. He said, that's why they like you. He goes, that's why you're so good at this. Y'all, give yourself permission to not be perfect.
I love that.
And God will open up the doors for you, because God is not looking for perfection. There is no testimony in perfection. There is no glory to God in perfection. There's glory to God in the imperfection.
From Adam to Paul, there was no perfection.
Mm-mm.
From Esther, Rahab to Mary, there was no perfection.
Mm-mm. Greatest figures in the Bible.
Yeah.
Imperfect.
Read your word, folks. Read your word.
So I highly encourage you today.
Yeah.
Take off the mask.
Yeah, for sure.
Take it off. Be who God created you to be. Stop looking at everybody else and focus on what God is doing in your life, how God has created you. Focus on the beautiful family that God has given you. Focus on the beautiful friends that God has given you. And focus on the opportunities.
And even if your family isn't beautiful right now.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's yours.
It's yours. Our pastor taught us this. He said, find the good and leave the bad.
That's it.
Find the good. There is good in where you're at right now. There is good in that marriage, even though everybody else may look like they're perfect and you're struggling. There is still good in that marriage. Don't call it quits yet. Don't call it quits yet. There is still good there. Find the good, leave the bad. There is still good in that job. There is still good in that church. There is still good. Find the good, leave the bad.
That's it, girl. That's what I got.
And that's what she wrote. This has been amazing.
I think it has.
Did we
been
cry
amazing.
in this one?
I mean, I feel like we wanted to.
Okay.
A couple times. I mean, I feel like we cry every episode.
Yo.
We kind of come in and we kind of think, oh yeah, hopefully this will be a light one, and then all of a sudden.
But I think like this one brought out like more passion in me, because I was there.
Yeah.
When I had to take a look back and say, are you going to put on what they want you to be? Or are you going to trust God that He can still use you? And I was there to walk alongside of you. And all the things. I didn't know so much about, the straight hair and all that, you know. So just hearing your story was crazy. But today, we encourage you to share your story the way that you could share it.
Yeah.
And you got two cheerleaders here. This is Lex.
This is Jessica.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.